Welcome to CIO Leadership Live. I'm Kirat Attar, content strategist at Foundry, and I will be your host for this episode. Our guest today is Vinod Bhatt, CIO and Chief Ethics Counselor at Vistara Airlines. Vinod, it's a pleasure to have you with us for this edition of CIO Leadership Live.
Thank you for having me. Looking forward to the conversation.
Let us begin. Vinod, I'd like to start with wanting to know more about your role and responsibility at Vistara, and what are your key priorities for driving business excellence in your industry?
See, as part of my role, which is primarily to drive the IT part of it, which includes your all the technologies, whether it is running the BAU processes or also the transformation part on the infrastructure side, on the cyber security side. It's basically literally the CDO, CISO, CIO, everything together, CTO together. So, as part of it, my top, if I have to really pick up five top key priorities, one will be obviously elevating the customer experience, but because that's important. Our whole business is revolving around the customer and looking at all the touch points of the customer and where the technology can help in terms of maybe understanding the customer, maybe providing the very specific services, very personalized services. I think that is one priority. Second priority is that how do you make our technologies future proof? Particularly, COVID has taught us that you need to be flexible, you need to be agile, you need to be resilient. And luckily, we were born on cloud, but the things are changing very fast, right? So, how do you make sure that the technology which is working today will work tomorrow also? So, the future proofing is a second priority from the technology point of view. Third thing is that see we are in airline business. It's a very thin margin business. So the cost optimization, the automation, employee productivity, it's always on top of our mind. While it gives you a lot of control, but also it gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of saving the cost, in terms of driving the productivity agenda which we have got all across, and also providing the cost value equation, which is very important, right? At what cost we are providing the services. Then the fourth, which is also very crucial, is the employee experience, right? So the employee experience is where you provide them the right tools, also educating them, also giving them the improving their digital quotient of what they need to work on, because they cannot serve the customers if they are not really digitally savvy in terms of knowledge and in terms of also the tools. So when you are facing the customers, they should be aware and they should have the right customer facing tools and also internally collaboration tools. That is the fourth priority for me. Fifth, which is important, last but not the least, is how do you ensure the regulatory compliance in terms of cyber, in terms of data, in terms of what are obligations we have for our customers or for employees or for the industry. So those are taken care. That's my fifth priority. So these are the top five priorities which come to my mind, which I thought I should highlight here.
Thank you. That definitely sheds more light on your priorities as well as the obstacles that you foresee in fulfilling them. Um, as the CIO, you play a pivotal role when you're driving digital transformation. What do you think the future of IT looks like in the aviation industry? And how is Vistara preparing to adapt to the upcoming technological trends and changes?
See, what has happened in particularly last 3-4 years is that there is so much of data explosion which has happened. Like you have data everywhere, and a lot of services have moved from offline to online. So from technology point of view, the whole data consolidation, 360-degree view of the customers, the engineering data, the safety data, HR data, finance data is basically there. And how do you make sure that you make sense out of the data in terms of in drawing the right inferences and using that inference to drive your decisions. So those technologies which are related to the analytics, which are related to the insights, which are related to the artificial intelligence. So the way we are driving the transformation is really looking at the business problem. For example, do we know the customers well? So we build up the complete platform called Customer 360, where we can really understand the customers better. And because that is the foundation. If you don't understand the customers, you cannot connect the rest of the dots in terms of service, in terms of marketing, in terms of personalization, in terms of all the journey. So I think that is as I said in the first priority is that. So building that digital backbone for the company very important, because other things are also related to with that. And which brings me to the other point is that how do you create a data centric organization where a lot of companies they focus first on the infrastructure and then go to the data. But now these 3-4 years have taught us that data is an asset, it is an invaluable asset for the company. So how do you ensure that this data is used proactively in the decisions? They're literally data informed decisions where data will tell you that what corrections you need to do as leaders, what decisions you can make based on the data. I think that is the other thing which we're focusing on. I talked about employees, so we're focusing a lot on the collaboration tools where companies will have on the go all the technologies because our workforce is mostly on the airports, on the field. So how do our engineering staff is there, flight operations staff is there. So how do we give them the technologies on the tip where the collaboration, uh, you know, uh, collaboration in terms of their work, their productivity, that's one of our goals also. And also these employees who are facing the customers, for example, our crew, what our ground service staff, what are the things you give them in terms of technologies and tools, platforms, where they can do their job better? If they are serving the customers, do they understand customers? Do they understand their preferences? Can they customize the services even during the flight? So those are the things where you really invest. We also have set up a digital center of excellence, which is driving the digital transformation, tracking the new technologies, and more importantly, we are marrying the business challenge or a use case with the technology. So we are not just investing in technology for the sake of technology, but if there's a valid business case and we pick up the right technology at the right cost, with the right ROI, with the right agility, and how does it integrate with the overall framework or the architecture of Vistara? I think that's what uh, we are on this journey, and we are keeping track on this.
That's terrific. A lot of great points there. Customer centricity, employee centricity, and basically becoming a data first organization. I think all of them will really help Ms. Tara lead the charge in a really big way. Uh, Stay keeping the focus on technology. I would like to ask about emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence and machine learning, which I think every company is trying to leverage. What are the key areas that you aim to revolutionize with this technology in your domain?
See, this maturity of using AI, ML, now we're talking about chat GPT or even generative AI. I think it's a journey. So Vistara was very lucky enough to embark on this journey quite early. We have multiple use cases where we have either implemented or going to implement or in the prospective use cases. For example, I talked about the customer 360. So even identification of the customer, understanding the customer, because when a customer travels with us, not necessarily the customer gives us all the information in terms of the data points, so that we can identify and understand customer better. So the whole deduplication, the whole algorithms which are built on to identify a unique customer and make sure that once that unique correct data is identified, you actually start building that repository, and you can now understand whether it is a loyalty based customer, is whether it's a platinum customer, gold customer, is a silver customer, or even otherwise, from the customer point of view. And then you can tie up with your marketing platform, you can tie up with your offers which are very relevant to the customer. Otherwise, you give them the offers under the sun, but it doesn't make sense, right? If you are a customer, you are traveling to Middle East and you want to, but they are giving you offers to say, APAC or even Europe. So you may not be interested in that. You may be a more frequent flyer in a particular sector. So that once you understand the customer better, I think this AIML plays a really good role in moving. Similarly, on the engineering side, if you have the view of what is the maintenance you need to do. So before even the flight lands, the engineers will be knowing proactively that, oh, I need to fix it, and there will be less time spent on the maintenance side of it. In other words, if the flight is on the ground and there's very little time between the landing and takeoff, so the time can be reduced, and you can actually enhance the customer experience also, while you can do a lot more predictive maintenance as part of it. Similarly, if somebody is working on the revenue side of it, so all the data which you have got, which gives you the existing routes, new routes, you can actually draw a lot of inferences and say that, you know what, I think this makes sense, this doesn't make sense. There is where again your AI plays a really big role. Similarly, if you want to do the employer-related analytics, like HR analytics, finance analytics, so there is hardly any business area where you don't see a business case. As I said, that this is a journey, and there are lot of good technologies. I think low code, no code is really great in terms of giving the automation a big flavor, and also the ground operations, the people who are on the ground on the airports, the flight operations, who are doing all the flight planning, who are doing all the crew rostering. They actually is all about the data, all about marrying the right combinations. I think that AI specific algorithms really go a long way in helping them plan better, in helping them take the right decisions which are right for the business.
All right, I understand. And these are all amazing developments that are going on at Vistara. So I'm sure that they are really changing the whole space, and you're leveraging emerging technologies in the way that I think it's supposed to be used. Uh, Staying in the realm of AI, when you think about something like generative AI or ChatGPT, and other immersive technologies, how do you think they're going to redefine the branding experience for the customer?
See, if you look at the history of the bots, chatbots, the bots. Very few people know that bots have been existing since 1966. So when the bots were there, and yes, they were more rule-based bots. They were not having a lot of NLP-based bots. Until we came to, I think, 2010, around that, we had more conversational bots where were more NLP-based. They can understand the question, they can answer it, and you could see the Siris of the world, Alexas of the world, Watsons of the world. So they were the emergence of 2010, 2014. But now we're talking about 2021 onwards, or now 23, you can see a lot more about generative AI or chat GPT and all. And there are already those bots are also available. So what differentiates these bots of the current bots series is that they're based on the large language models, where they encompass lot many streams of data, and they can interpret the data, and they can actually the bot can do impromptu suggestions to you, and the cursor can actually can take the inputs of variety types of inputs, and it can go to multiple types of data sources. So that opens up a lot of avenues for you in terms of if I have to really talk about a use case which I believe that the generative AI or chat GPT can be a very good help, is about the customer service. When there is a complaint raised by a customer, maybe the flight wasn't good, maybe the baggage was mishandled, maybe any of the issues which are potentially a customer can face, and you don't know which channel customer is going to raise it, right? It can be any of digital channels. It can be uh, maybe a channel which is just launched. So how do you make sure that the data which is collated across the channels, and then you can make sense of the data and create an action plan? So typically it is a very sequential time taking exercise, collating, and then it takes maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in some cases to act. But if you use this engine, you can probably do this action plan in a day's time, in an hour's time, in a minute's time, where you can actually churn this data very quickly. So that case is a fantastic use case where you can actually act on the feedback of the customer a lot quicker than that. And similarly, there is immersive technologies also which are coming up, like augmented reality, virtual reality, and all extended reality, where you can define the customer experience quite differently. It has a very good, I would say, it's a prospective technology which every organization, technology company is exploring right now. A lot of use cases, and there are a lot of expectations. However, there's a word of caution as well, because it is pre-trained, it is generative, it is transformed in nature. So it needs a lot of data set to be trained, and it may not give you always the latest information, and it may always not give you the consistent brand experience. You talked about the brand question, right? So if you are asking the same question to the bot, you may get two different version of the brand, which probably a human will understand little better. Having said this, will this be corrected in the future? Will there be a better algorithm? Answer may be yes, but well, look at it. Second is, in a regulated industry, you have to also be very conscious about the compliance related stuff, which these bots will have to adhere to. And today, you would have seen that there are a lot of regulations which they want to put it across countries, where we have a framework around the compliance around this, depending on the country and depending on the industry. So that will also mature, which will give comfort to the industries like us that yes, these technologies are addressing the compliance issues. They are not using the stale data. They are not impacting your brand, and it is good to go. So the good news is that very promising technology. The bad news is right now is that we'll have to wait for some time until it really matures. But there's a lot of effort going on industry wide, where it is trying to get to the maturity state as soon as possible, probably.
Understood. I think you summarized that really well, the pros and cons of disruptive technologies and the major upheavals that they're causing in industries. And of course, as CIO, you have to be the one of the people who proceeds with caution when it comes to new technologies. That actually brings me to my final question. Um, as airlines are increasingly relying on digital systems for various operations, do you feel that you are now more vulnerable to cyber attacks? So, what key strategies do you focus on to mitigate risks like that?
See, airlines is always, particularly the B2C part of the airlines, where you have got web, mobile, your servers. So
Right.
yeah, they will be, particularly as I said, that the services, lot many services have moved from offline to online. The lot more risk exposure has gone up, attack surface has gone up. So yes, I think there will be, you'll have to put strategies in place where you are basically having the right tools, processes to mitigate those kind of risks. For example, identity and access management is very critical. That who is accessing your applications, who is accessing your systems, who is accessing your servers, and making sure that those IDs are always in sync with the approved IDs. There is a proper approval process. So, and when you are on one hand, you are going ahead and doing the complete transformation on the infrastructure side, you have to always wear this IAM, which is identity and access management lens, to make sure that this is taken care not only for your employees but also for your partners, or also for your third parties. Because many times you do not understand that the risk is not only within the employees but also the ecosystem you have created as part of it. Then also there are a lot of incidents which do happen, and how do you track those incidents? Like there's a SIM technology, SIAM. There's the databases are there created now, and how do you correlate these incidents across databases, across touch points, across endpoints, and monitor this proactively? Because if the incident happens, then after that there is very little you can do. But how do you catch it before it becomes a big problem for the organization? So I think those putting those tools which help to proactively monitor those incidents, like we call it SIM, we call it SOAR, which is automated response also, and also embarking on the zero trust journey, right, where you really say zero trust network access. You don't trust anything. Every time you have to approve the authorize the identity. And similarly, going to a new framework like SASIN framework, which is secured access service edge. So you put these blocks of the technologies which help you to mitigate, isolate it. And even if for example, there's a good concept of network segmentation. How do you design your networks where even if there is a critical apps are there, critical segments are there, how do you host them in a zone where there are a lot more stringent measures? And maybe you call that as a gold zone, you call it a silver zone, you call it a brown zone, where there is, and on top of it you put the zero trust. So zero trust helps you to make sure that you have the right users. Segmentation, part of the same framework, actually helps you making sure that even if there is any incident, how do you mitigate or address that impact to a less extent. You look at your firewalls, you look at how much exposure you have got. I think those are few of the things which you basically put in place. And also, sometimes you feel that patch management is very easy or very trivial, but actually, if your endpoints are not well patched, you don't have, the systems are not updated in terms of patches. There is lot more vulnerabilities which is actually you are carrying, and well, because of those, older patches on your endpoints, there is a greater chance that the malware or ransomware attack may happen through that. So getting that visibility, making sure that even people who are not on the enterprise network also, company network also, you can still understand and identify those gaps and start pushing the patches to those machines. So those are some of the strategies which you put in place, and constantly monitoring. There is no silver bullet in cybersecurity. You need to constantly monitor it, constantly learn, and identify those risks, identify those gaps, and keep addressing it. And one more thing which is probably important here is that the entire visibility of the enterprise. See, if you are on multi-cloud, public cloud, or if there is any on-prem, how do you get the complete view of visibility of the entire applications, entire infrastructure, and where do you see the risk, and how do you proactively monitor that? And similarly, if apps are there, how do you identify those vulnerabilities, and how do you keep on addressing, because you constantly develop the apps? How do you keep the standards? So those are the things which always are part of the process. And as I said, that we keep looking at it, monitoring it, augmenting it, making sure that no visible gaps are left.
That's a really great, very detailed response. You covered a lot of all aspects of cyber threats and digital threats that come in, and how Vistara is combating it. I think through this conversation, all of the technological uh, sort of routes that Vistara is going down, if everything is implemented in the way that you expected, I think that really brings the company to a place where it can serve its customers better and really create that holistic experience that you're aiming for. Uh, that brings me to the end of this episode of CIO Leadership Live. Vinod, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you sincerely for sharing your valuable insights into the changing CIO role, the emergence of digital transformation, and how technologies like AI, etc., are helping the aviation industry soar even higher. This has been a deeply enlightening conversation.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Until next time, this is Kirat signing off from CIO Leadership Live.